Digital preservation is very important for every archival material or records to protect digital archival material. Traditional archives and records have been modernized in the world of archives with the use of digital material and electronic records. Digital preservation is required to ensure that digital archives and documents are trustworthy and valuable. So preservation is a method of reducing the amount of material that has been harmed due to deterioration. Precautions are taken to limit the risk and prevent the deterioration of materials. As a result, we need to develop a digital preservation mechanism for Tabung Haji.
The idea to set up the permanent wang simpanan bakal-bakal haji was triggered by a proposal made by the renowned of Malay economist, the Royal Professor Yang Mulia Ungku Abdul Aziz bin Ungku Abdul Hamid in December 1959 to the federal government of Malaya. The first step was taken with the establishment of PWSBH under Law Number 34, 1962 in 1963. When the operation began in 1963, a total of 102,081 prospective pilgrims opened their accounts. Their main objective then was to ensure that their savings were secure and free of usury to enable them to fulfill the 5 pillars of Islam and to attain a Mabrur Hajj. In 1969, to further strengthen its role to coordinating the expanding saving and Hajj management, PWSBH was merged with the Hajj Affairs Management Office, which has been in operation since 1951 in Penang. This newly set up organization was named Lembaga Urusan dan Tabung Haji (LUTS) and was later renamed as Lembaga Tabung Haji in 1995 and also known as Tabung Haji. Some digital preservation goals are tied to preservation of archive materials or future records that have been digitized. As you can see, there is 5 objectives of Tabung Haji archive, which is to save space and time, to preserve digital materials archive, to mitigating the negative consequence of deteriorating elements, to preserving information historical value, and to adhere the community's preservation standards and best preservation methods. The archivists will confront a number of challenges, one of which is that the archival collection materials cannot be expanded due to space constraints. We will continue to receive fresh archival materials that must be preserved on a daily basis. Not only that, the archival materials are very readily damaged without a digital archive. This is because if a larger number of people contact the archival material will be damaged. Next, it will be difficult for us to save all of the archival materials in the event of a natural calamity, especially archival paper-based materials.
First and foremost, we will have a meeting in the first month to propose the creation of digital preservation for Tabung Haji digital preservation. We will deliver a working paper at this conference to ensure that everything runs well. We will consult with professionals in digital preservation throughout the establishment processing. We do not want to incur huge losses in the future. Our goal for the first month is to have the proper structure for the program to function smoothly in the upcoming. In the second month, we will develop the organizational structure for implementing the digital preservation program. Furthermore, we will conduct a research on digital preservation, including the benefit of this program and the downside of digital preservation, as well as the necessity of digital preservation in ensuring that we are always prepared in the interest of safety. We will also confer with professionals during the program's execution to avoid future large losses. Next, we should define our real targets for our digital preservation implementation program in the third month. It means that The program execution will be more serious at this point since we will be determining the program's standards and approach. We will also decide how to make this preservation freely accessible to user at this point. We will decide how we make digital preservation more accessible to others. We will also attempt to have a conversation about what feature we can employ to make this application more user-friendly for all parties, especially for Tabung Haji employees. Furthermore, after the appraisal is complete in the 4th month, we will write a report to summarizing the maintenance requirements that were found throughout the evaluation process. Environmental control, disaster planning, safety, housekeeping, collection storage, and housing and conservation treatment are all covered in this study. We will also supply executive reports for assessment report that establish maintenance priorities for the short term, medium term, and long term. In the 5th month, when the written report is complete, we will assemble the budget required to accomplish the digital preservation. It is critical and must be examined for every viewpoint to avoid losses. It must be rated high in order to accomplish digital preservation. We must determine all financial values necessary over the cost of the evaluation activity. After submitting the budgets, we will determine the gear and software that will be used in the digital preservation in the same month. We will list and endeavor to obtain all of goods required for digital preservation at this time. After having acquired all the requirements needed in implementing this digital preservation, we will test the digital preservation before we launch this program to outsiders. In this process of the trial, there will definitely be problems that will happen and need to be corrected again and need to improve. Once everything is done and no problems happen, we will launch the program to outsiders, and we will always receive feedback for the public so that we can further improve our digital preservation performance in the future. Our goal in developing digital preservation is to lessen the influence of deterioration factor on archive material. Our group will preserve archive information through digital preservation. Our company will digitally monitor the harm to the archive material and will respond quickly if there are any damage. Furthermore, our company will ensure that the knowledge included in the archive material lasts a lifetime. Our group will make the best use of the resources available to preserve this archive material so that future generations may access it. History is extremely significant since it is something that will almost certainly never be forgotten. Thus, for Tabung Haji digital preservation, it is important to have digital preservation to keep their record insecure and can be referred in the future for any purpose.
To meet the goals and objectives of our digital preservation program, our archival company understands the needs of adhering to the digital preservation community's current standards and practices. Our archive company has committed to implementing digital preservation policies, repositories, and strategies in conformity with the OAIS reference model. Furthermore, we know that Tabung Haji is one of the most successful Muslim travel organizations. This organization maintains a record-keeping system. We intend to construct the Tabung Haji archive in order to learn more and preserve records, travel documents, and identities. The second part is responsibilities. The Digital Preservation Department, Electronic Records Management and Digital Archive Service Management within the archival institutions will develop digital preservation system strategies, activities and life cycles.
The program plan will be evaluated and approved on a regular basis by the organization's senior management. The deployment of the digital preservation system is expressly included in the plan specifics.
Today, I will talk about digital preservation strategy. We start with the linked open data (LOD). As everyone knows, LOD is a very common thing in the world nowadays because it offers virtual data cloud. Anybody with permission may see and add to any data without affecting the underlying data sources. This creates an open ecosystem in which data may be generated, linked, and consumed at a large scale across the internet. Tabung Haji may use linked open data technologies to optimize their proprietary data curation procedures and maintain stronger relationships between digital items and their description for clear illustration. And then we move to the next one, which is the web strength. According to his Gumper, the linked open data (LOD) is all about strengthening the web by adding structured data, not about establishing a new one. This structured data, which is conveyed using technologies like RDF in attributes RDFA and microdata, is used in the search engine and social network crawling and relevance algorithms, and will help Tabung Haji improve their exposure through search engines optimization (SEO). Second point is costing on equipment. As we can see, this is our financial planning. The annual cost of maintaining the system, data storage and operating cost for our organization will be expected around 500,000. The annual cost of audio-visual equipment that needed to replay the original form of data carrier and transfer them into the latest format will be cost around RM1 million. And finally, the annual cost of materials that have been mentioned in the capital section and other of these materials that necessary for archive operation is approximately around RM 850,000. And then we move to the next one, which is migration. The first point in this slide is vital in technological trends. What is that? Okay, according to the read, the digital item is the focus on migration since it seeks to preserve it in updated forms that can be read and understood by new software that can work in a new context. It's critical to remember that while the concept of migration may be simple, putting it in writing may be difficult. As a result, the format in which digital items are generated and utilized might differ and be tailored to certain sorts of things. And then we move to the type of migration techniques. The first one is renewing or replicating a digital resources rather than changing its bits. The process of moving digital resources from one long-term storage media to another one of the same type without changing the bit stream is known as refreshing. Then the second one is repacking. Repacking is the second migration approach, which is the repackaging of moved digital object changes throughout this operation. And the last one is comprehensive content transformation, a little bit of transformation, which involves changing the bit stream of the digital entity, which is we might be do something new to the content without changing its originality. We have arrived at the last point, which is emulation. The first thing first, we go through its definition, which means the process of recreating the environment in which a digital resources was created. And then we move to the first point, which is keeping docs legible in long term. Technique that involves using one computer equipment or software program to mimic the action of another device in order to achieve the same effect. The emulation techniques make use of the emulated software or hardware to replicate the functionality of outdated technical environments on contemporary computer systems. Important consideration must be made before emulation may be used as digital preservation approach. To use the emulation approach, one must first pick what to emulate: programs, hardware, software, operating system, or something else. Opposite to migration, emulation emphasizes the original context in which a file may be displayed by keeping document legible for a long period. When migration works on the object themselves, transforming them into more stable or generally adopted representations, emulation works on the environment of an item, attempting to replicate the original context. Despite the fact that emulation provides the most accurate representation of digital item, opponents contend that is difficult method to apply since it necessitated not only the preservation of the original objects but also through understanding of the original system. And then we move to the second point, which is access to continuous creation. It's very necessary to have access to the applicable standards and documentation in order to grasp the functioning of the system to be initiated. And by implementing emulation necessitated and the continuous creation and operation of intermediary software to interpret the resources.
For the organization viabilities, an archival company is a well-known organization that is responsible for preserving documents of long-term importance. Record keeping ensures that the records have the same information as to when they were saved and that records may be accessed using current technology. So the first one is 10.1 rational. Our archival firm's purpose is to aid in the preservation of the document acquired and to better manage the archival records for the Tabung Haji company. Furthermore, the goal of records management is to help applicants who intend to undertake Haji Mabrur with cost-effective spending planning. Furthermore, the purpose of this record management is to properly maintain the accounts of Tabung Haji account holders professionally and manage them privately and confidentially. 10.2 is devotion. Our archive company is committed to the management and preservation of documents and strives to meet our archival company's objectives. We will work harder to ensure that everything planned helps and benefits all the Tabung Haji consumers. 10.3 is financial obligation. Finance is one of the most significant and crucial things that should be truly considered before being implemented in a business. This is due to the fact that technology planning, staff training, software development or acquisition, and legal agreements are all material expenses. Furthermore, long-term planning is rarely possible with financial planning system. Every effort must be made in digital preservation plan to address the financial feasibility of digital preservation projects. 10.4 is roles and responsibilities. We are in charge of monitoring and correcting all policy concerns that influence our employees' capacity to execute their tasks or the digital generation and maintenance of Tabung Haji client data in a consistent and effective way. To adequately fulfill the archival stand, we will collaborate with our affiliates and allied professions to handle the expanding issues linked to archive concerns, notably the gathering and administration of Tabung Haji consumer data. We shall mold our duties to the new information environment in order to sustain the organizational responsibilities of effective and efficient record archiving, documenting and preservation. And the last one is 10.5 is monitoring. Due to the digital environment always changing, it is critical to incorporate regular monitoring of the environment in the digital plan. It is also critical to maintaining track of changes in partner status, such as essential employees and money. Program assessment can be influenced by changes in financing and partner organizations. Therefore, plans must be revised and amended as the environment changes. At least once a year, digital preservation measures should be examined and have to review responsibilities should be clearly specified.
I will explain about the implementation of digital preservation and approach. It had two parts, which is initial stage and implementation stage. In initial stage, we have policy development, where we will interact with various stakeholders in the design process while designing digital preservation policies to ensure that the policies is properly communicated to stakeholders. Next, we have cost estimation. It's for preserving electronic records at our digital preservation institutions must contain a cost interpretation that include employees, equipment and other development expenses. Next, for implementation stage, we have migration, data accuracy, emulation, technology in preservation and refreshing. In this video, I will focus on technology in preservation because we will concentrate on preserving the system technological environment, which includes software and media storage. This method keeps an original application program, operating system, software and hardware platform. However, this stage is more of a disaster recovery technique for usage on digital things that have not been subjected to an appropriate digital preservation plan. It can deal with media obsolescence since the medium hasn't deterioration beyond reading. Last but not least, I will explain about emulation. We do emulation for preserve both the look and functionality of a digital things. The goal behind this approach is to replicate the technical environment of the resource, allowing the original object or a refreshed clone of the original object to be used in the future. Emulator application will be able to run on future computer system. The emulator is designed to mimic the behavior of outdated hardware platform and operating system application, such as executable files.
Move to the financial sustainability. Financial sustainability describes the ability to maintain financial capacity over time. So we go through one by one. In this slide is a proposition of partnership. So first we were going to talk about collaboration with specific programs. The National Archive of Malaysia is given the opportunity to participate in and work on a variety of digital preservation concern, both at a substantial scale and on the particular topics. This step brings various benefit to the Tabung Haji as it can help us to optimize our transparency, privacy and performance. Then we move to the second point, which is collaboration to work on specific software or systems. Certain software can be pain on the nerve to the new users. Hence, that is why we suggest that we should cooperate with other practitioners to learn more about the system before we implemented them in the organization. Point is costing on equipment. As we can see, this is our financial planning. The annual cost of maintaining the system, data storage and operating cost for our organization will be expected around 500,000. The annual cost of audio-visual equipment that needed to replay the original form of data carrier and transfer them into the latest format will be cost around RM1 million. And finally, the annual cost of materials that have been mentioned in the capital section and other of these materials that necessary for archive operation is approximately around RM850,000. Point is profitability. As other profitable organization, the equilibrium is crucial when it comes to profit, because who does not need money in return when it comes to handling and maintaining huge amounts of data in organization? If the profitability is under our nose, it's hard for us to retain the archive and can affect the staff income. Thus, it will radiate a wave of tension among staff and administration, because it's being short of money can bring the organization down to drain. Hence, profits leave a little room for fluctuations in income or costs, and they limit our ability to invest, putting our financial sustainability at risk. And the last point in this section is availability of capital. For the early establishments of the archive, we usually expect a startup financing to cover the total cost of the archive structure, which is the appropriate part of the capital cost and the annual running cost that holds storage space, staffing areas, and office space for the administrations. All these materials are very important, as without them, it will be hassle for archive to operate. We also count on the working money to run our day-to-day operations, as well as investment fund to reinvest in our archiving institution and promote development. We can either self-finance, fund through capital infusion, take out a bank loan, or work with a specialized financing agency to obtain this money.
The most important aspect of developing and creating digital preservation is having enough and full equipment or instruments to aid the digital preservation process. As a routine, we employ specific equipment for work done by the administration in the office, which can assist us in establishing digital preservation. The equipment that will be used is a set of computer, printer, other electronic devices, telefax, duplicators, word processor, and photocopies. Reprographic unit must have high-quality, reliable equipment for reproducing pictures, slides, film, and macro photography. Because the work of these units is based on vital aspect in archival institution, our organization's reprographic units have complete equipment. Not only that, a readable machine is the point of view for digital preservation equipment and tools. The machine-read records are known in the same way as the manual records, but there are important distinctions. We have our own method of deleting, amending, or changing records. Furthermore, we have numerous specific applications available on the computer to assist with all methods related to research and archive collections. Last but not least, we provide our archival institution with safety equipment and tools. For example, in the event of an unexpected situation, a fire extinguisher, a fire alarm, and a water fountain can be used as a precautionary measure.
Corporate security managers ensure that an organization's people, products, buildings, and data are all protected. They also ensure that a business adheres to all state and federal standards. Data security is a continuous process that includes techniques like penetration testing, vulnerability management, endpoint security, and phishing and identity theft. Security is more than securing a company's network and data. It also entails devising plans to ensure that an organization's operations are not harmed. Natural calamities such as floods and hurricanes can wreak havoc on a building's infrastructure. Human error must also be considered, as illustrated by a utility worker's miscalculation. Visitors to the Tabung Haji website must ensure that personal data is safeguarded and maintained using appropriate security technology. It is forbidden to disseminate information with political undertones, seditious and racist materials, or that harm the country's reputation in any way. Prioritizing digital preservation operations and implementing them on a timely basis might be critical for preventing data loss. Where there is an opportunity to act early in the life cycle, digital items can be designed to last longer, so many of the operations overlap. For example, purchase and preservation choices should be made at the same time if possible.